Hey, it's JT,
And Mike.
hosts of Brew Crime.
And we've got some exciting news for you.
Mark your calendars for July 12th to 14th, 2024.
We're heading to the True Crime and Paranormal Podcast Festival in Denver, Colorado, and you won't want to miss it.
Are you worried about costs? Fear not. This festival is designed with you in mind, an affordable experience without sacrificing quality.
There are no inflated costs, just a weekend packed with authenticity, education, and networking.
Have you ever wished for genuine one-on-one interactions with your favorite creators? Well, now is your chance.
Save 15% off your ticket price by using the code BREWS at checkout.
You know, those things you need after listening to us for an hour? Well, at least me.
We hope to see you there and let them know.
Brew Crime sent you. Head over to truecrimepodcastfestival.com.
Welcome to Brew Crime, the podcast where we drink brews, talk crime, conspiracies, or whatever catches our attention. This is Mike and my co-host.
Poorer than Amar Dolman.
Ah! The owner of the BC Lions in the CFL, who just got 50 cent for the home opener.
That video of them learning about the halftime, the team was hysterical.
Yeah,
It
100%.
just, the different reactions, very funny.
Yup. Oh my god.
Anyways, watch the
And
CFL.
it's the other reaction has been great with it's all the boomers that are so mad that it's another hip hop artist after last year being LL Cool J.
Honestly, bring it.
Yeah, 100%.
LL Cool J is pretty nifty, but I'll say this, with the recent crap that's going on in that genre, you better be careful. You better be careful who you're bringing on, because
I was laughing because the guy I have seasons tickets with, he was like, "Oh, we should look at selling our tickets," and I'm like, "Oh God, no! I want to see if Fiddy's wearing his bulletproof vest or not."
right? I mean, the reality is he was discovered by Eminem, and Eminem pushed him, and now Eminem's multiple years over a decade sober and just danced with his daughter at her wedding. And
no way.
they looked great. Oh yeah, they looked. I mean, he looks great. He really does. I mean, leaving the blonde behind and growing the beard was a good idea.
Nice.
So, yeah, not your beard, but like mine.
A normal beard. Yeah.
Well, I would say yours is more normal than mine is. Mine's an attempt. Yours is successful.
No, mine is not that normal. It's huge.
Here in Richmond, on point.
Oh, it's on point here too for a lot of people. More on point for Oregon probably, but yeah.
Well, Portland.
Exactly. As a beer nerd, that's the place. Yeah. All right. Well, we're back to Denver again because we're going to Denver.
Yes.
So you did fun facts. I'm going to do some fun facts.
Yes.
So I actually didn't realize, but Denver is exactly 1 mile high.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's nifty.
Denver has one of the most walkable downtowns in the United States.
Bring your hiking shoes, Mike.
I have hikers as regular day shoes, so I will. Denver is a cultural city with a highly educated population. That's pretty cool.
Ah, yes. And imagine that. Weed's legal and they're highly educated.
Yes. And Denver is one of only a few cities to have 6 professional sports teams.
Denver
basketball, to football,
soccer,
baseball. I don't know. They also have horse racing and professional rodeo.
Ooh.
They have 90 golf courses, which sounds horrifying, which makes sense with all the boomers you said about last episode.
Ah, yes. Golfing. My back hurts already.
Yeah. And it's also easy being green in Denver. They're really pushing like the renewable energy and all that stuff. So
Oh, I thought you meant something else.
that too, right?
I just snorted.
Didn't come through on the recording for me.
Oh no.
Damn.
Well,
All right. Well, the title of my story is Vincent Darrell Groves was a waste of skin.
I'm excited.
And I was sad that it seems like you can no longer buy New Belgium.
New Belgium, yeah.
It seems like New Belgium Brewing is no longer available here, which is a bummer because I was going to buy that as a pairing.
Hey, New Belgium, get
But
on it.
I'm sure
Also
a lot of
sponsor us.
American breweries have pulled out of Canada because the cost of distribution are bad dollar these days. Everything, it's just not worth it.
They just
But
don't want little breweries running around, so it's important to pull out.
don't
All
worry,
those microbreweries,
there's a
they're
lot of
costly.
pulling out going on these days in brewing. But to pair with our loser, Vincent Groves, I've taken a beer from Storm Brewing Company called the Black Plague. Because he
Oh my
is
gosh.
a plague of a human. And this
I
is
love
an
it.
Imperial Oatmeal Stout, 8% alcohol. And I also wanted to feature this because Storm Brewing recently went through a bit of an issue. They had a problem with their licensing and they got shut down for
What?
it was about just under a month, I think, but it was looking like it could have even been like the summer they lost, which could have shut them down completely.
Ugh.
So it's a really roasty kind of earthy caramel nose, not very sweet. It's also kind of like caramel and earthy and roasty, semi-sweet. It's like it's not dry, it's not like bitter, but it's also not sweet. It's really easy drinking. You don't tell that it's 8% alcohol, which is good because maybe I'll forget Vincent Groves ever lived.
That would be good. That
Oh,
would
I
be,
hope so.
yep, preferred.
All right. Vincent Darrell Groves was born on April 19th, 1954 in Denver, Colorado, to a father that was a postman and a Baptist church deacon, and a mother that was a teacher and played organ at the church.
Hmm.
I couldn't find his parents' names at all.
Oh,
They want nothing to do with this fucker.
yep, yep. I'd say go for it.
Yeah. So he lived in an upper middle class neighborhood in an upper middle class family.
Mhm.
He also had two younger brothers. So he had everything going for him, and he still managed to end up a scumbag.
Ah,
Yeah. Vincent would go to Wheat Ridge High School, where he was a talented basketball player.
hmm.
His graduating year, 1972, he would go to the finals into Interscholastic Basketball Championship for Colorado. They would lose the game, but he would go on to college and he would be a star player.
Good for him, I suppose. At this point.
Yeah. He was also a very popular kid in said high school, being in the running for prom king.
Oh, all
So
right.
as a young guy, he seemed to have his life in order.
Yeah, it was heading somewhere for sure.
Yeah. So possibly on a scholarship or just on the dime of his parents, Vincent would enroll in COE, Co College in Cedar
Yeah,
Rapids,
go.
Iowa,
Hmm.
basically a 12-hour drive from Denver. By 1974, he would lose interest in class and basketball and would either drop out of college or be kicked out. It's a bit muddled on the information. It kind of seemed like it could have gone either way.
I wonder what happened. That's fascinating. Just
Yeah,
to
right.
drop out like that.
Or get kicked out.
Or right, correct. Yeah, true.
So he would move back to Denver and move in with his grandmother. He would care for his elderly grandmother and would spend time with his parents when he could. He would get a job at Gates Rubber Company as an electrician.
Hmm.
So, seeing as he didn't seem to have any experience in this trade, I find it crazy that he got this job.
Yeah, I don't really know
Like,
where electricity comes in with rubbers, but all right.
I think he was like an electrician to keep the plant running, right?
I
Mr.
know,
Rubbers. But,
I
I don't know about the United States, but usually to be an electrician here, you need to be ticketed kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, you definitely have to go through an apprenticeship here for sure.
Yeah,
So I don't know what the requirements were back then, or maybe
yeah,
he
it's true.
falsified. I don't know.
Could be, yeah. So this is when his life would change paths forever. He would begin to drink heavily and start cruising the local red light districts.
Ah, yes, because the yellow light districts weren't good enough.
Exactly, right? His friends would find him all the time at a lounge called the New Yorker. Why is there a place called the New Yorker in Denver? I'm not sure. Friends would get worried that he was an alcoholic and no fucking shit.
Yeah.
That your life's falling apart and whenever they want to find you, they just go find you at the New Yorker. This is all while not having his family know that he was boozing up. He was hiding it from them.
Jeez.
He would also begin to deal cocaine to the local pimps and sex workers.
All right. The CIA comes in.
Yeah, so making all the connections in the seedy underbelly of Denver, Vincent would make friends with a 17-year-old girl, Jeanette Baca. He would talk her into becoming a sex worker and be her pimp.
Oh, he's a dick.
Yes. Her unclothed dead body would be found dumped near a park on June 11th, 1978. But even after interviewing Vincent, no charges were ever laid in this murder. But it's very much thought that he was the perpetrator.
Yeah.
Not even a year later, Vincent would move in with 21-year-old Norma Jean Halford. August 24th, 1979, her abandoned car would be found on a mountain road outside of Georgetown, about 45 miles or 72 kilometers away. Her body has never been recovered and no charges have been laid. Both of these cases, though, sound like Vincent wrapping up his killing spree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said wrapping up.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. Vincent Groves would eventually move out of his grandmother's house for whatever reason and begin to not only deal cocaine, but also heroin and cannabis.
Hmm.
And cannabis, who gives a shit? But
Right.
the other stuff, him and his friends would love to play poker and snort coke. Don't get high in your own supply, right?
Right. Definitely not.
It was here that he would meet Jeanette Hill, a woman that would become his girlfriend. She was a bank employee and noted as being pretty. Well, Vincent was not a religious man. He would go to church with his parents on occasion, and this is where he would meet Jeanette. So she's a religious woman who ends up
Uh,
hooking up with this fuckhead.
with a pimp.
Yep. So it's an amazing that this church going woman with a good job at a bank would fall for a loser like this, but who knows?
They're usually pretty manipulative.
She must have liked the bad guy.
Hmm.
It goes to show that with some confidence and some decent looks, you could do well in the dating world, even if you're a loser.
Oh, that must be my problem.
Here, I'll pull up a
Also, I'm
picture of him.
married, so there's that.
Yeah, no shit, right?
Oh, wow. He is permanently angry with those eyebrows.
Yes, right.
I, he's he his facial hair is an hourglass. His eyebrows go up, his mustache goes down. He's just counting the minutes.
Yeah, those
Um,
eyebrows on someone today, you'd think it was Botox.
for sure.
So Jeanette didn't seem to care what he got up to, and he would disappear for days at a time. Vincent probably thought he found the perfect woman. The two would move in together in a second floor apartment in Denver. So Vincent would get sick of his job at Gates Rubber Company and after a time get a job at a janitorial business. This was the perfect job as it had him all over the city and let him travel around with impunity and also at night usually.
Oh.
Jeanette Hill would finally start to get frustrated in 1981.
Mm-hmm.
Not only was he not around much, but on a night close to their upcoming wedding, a window was smashed on the ground floor of their house and a gun was set on the windowsill. They would pack up and flee to his parents' house.
I bet they would.
So you have to assume that it was a rival drug dealer or maybe another pimp that got pissed off at him. Maybe a
Yeah.
gang, even. I don't know.
What's really funny is that they gave him a gun. So
It's a good calling card, though.
it is. I mean, until it's loaded and used against you.
Yeah, but they have to know who it is first.
Well, that's fair.
So the two would be wed on March 23rd, 1981. And while Jeanette slept, Vincent would be getting high, as he often did. Night of their wedding.
What a champ.
Yeah. August 14th, 1981 would find our loser camping, and he would come across 17-year-old Tammy Sue Woodrum. He would kill her. I'm not sure how his wife found out, but she would talk Vincent into turning himself into the police. Now, he would claim that she died of an overdose. There's a slight problem, as she had 0 drugs in her system, and she had been raped and strangled. So that's not really an overdose. So he would be charged with second-degree murder in the summer of 1982 and be sentenced to 12 years in prison. In prison, he would divorce his wife, which seems like a mercy for her, really. So he would also finish his college in the clink, as well as do programs for rehabilitation for sex offenders. He would even teach other inmates, although I have no idea in what subjects. It just mentioned that he was teaching the inmates. In a move I will never understand, Vincent would be released from jail on February 12th, 1987, under what was deemed mandatory parole. How is a 12-year sentence deemed to be less than 5 years behind bars, though? Mandatory. Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Like, I can see getting early release for good behavior, blah, 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 which I still don't agree with for such a short sentence. But how is it a mandatory parole? That doesn't make sense. Like, mandatory parole should be at 12 years when he is the end of his sentence.
Agreed.
So likely for Vincent, because his family were devout Baptists, he would find supportive parents when he got out of prison. His dad would even buy him a 1978 AMC Concorde, which I have no idea what it looks like, but American Motor Company's been dead for a long time. He would get his son a job as a church janitor, and Vincent would also get a job at a department store as a janitor. Of course, most janitorial work takes place at night, and this got him right back out to East Colfax Avenue area where the sex workers and drugs were rampant. Vincent would pick up Sheila Washington, a sex worker in her 20s, and he would agree to pay her $200, money he had won at a dog track. Before getting to the motel room, though, they would buy $100 in crack cocaine out of what he was supposed to pay her with. He would get down to his boxers and she would be asked to stop in her lingerie as he liked to take off the women's undergarments that he slept with.
Mm-hmm.
They would end up smoking the crack, and Vincent would tell her how he would smoke crack in college.
There it is. That's why he lost interest.
He would tell her to take a big hit, hold it in, and close her eyes. He would then tell her to count to 30. He would inch his 6'5" frame towards the 5'3" woman. As soon as she closed her eyes, he lashed his hands around her throat. She would open her eyes and scream. Mm-hmm. She would kick the glass top coffee table in the room and it would break. He would squeeze harder and she would go limp. A man in a close by room would hear the commotion in the room and he would kick the door down. Vincent would quickly put on his clothes and bolt. Shalia would come to and grab a broom and begin to chase Vincent out of the room.
Yeah.
So I guess the Good Samaritan didn't want to get involved, as he would not want to report this to the police. But that is no surprise, as this was a motel frequented by sex workers. So he was probably a John himself. but you still
Yeah.
don't want to see someone get hurt, right?
Yeah. No, not at all.
So Shalia would wait a week before contacting the police to report the assault, but she had no name to give to the police. With a poor description and no name, they had no way to find Vincent, and it doesn't sound like they really cared either. Big
Yeah.
surprise. In August of 1988, only a year later, Shalia would see Vincent driving his car past her, and she would flag down a cop. That cop would pull Vincent over, but after a short questioning period, he would just let him go. Now, of course, this time around, the Denver area and the surrounding cities were investigating 20 unsolved murders that the investigators suspected Vincent Groves to be suspected in.
Good God.
The 28 investigators involved had found evidence from the scenes of the crimes with victims strangled, sexually assaulted, and most were sex workers. Many of the women also had drugs in their system, suspected from his own supply. During this investigation, they would finally pay attention to Shalia Washington. So September 1st, 1988, he would finally be arrested. The charge would be for attempted first-degree murder of Shalia Washington. Now that they had him in custody, it was time to bring in his family, friends, ex-wife, and a current girlfriend for questioning. They would also bring in his car to a shop to have it torn apart for evidence. While DNA testing was first used successfully in 1987, they were looking for hair and other clues as well as DNA. It was still really new. The police would grill Vincent on Shalia Washington, and he would say he never meant to choke her, but he also said that she stole $1,600 from him, which he never had.
Yeah.
What's kind of funny is he only had a couple $100s on him when he met up with her. They would also talk to him until after midnight about all of the other women that had been found murdered with similar MOs to how he had tried to kill Shalia. He would even admit to knowing many of the women, but no more than that. He would even be quoted as saying to the cops, "You've done your homework," he told the investigators. "It looks really bad for me."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of does, doesn't it?
You don't say, you fuckhead. When it headed to court for this case of attempted murder of Shalia Washington, her lawyers would try and bring up the unsolved murders that fit the same bill as her case, but the judge threw out that notion. This case would go nowhere, and the jury would take 90 minutes on February 16th, 1989 to acquit him. Luckily for the Denver area, this didn't mean that he was headed back out onto the streets, as the police investigators had finally made a DNA hit. Over in Adams County, they had linked Vincent's DNA to the murder of Juanita Lacato, a 19-year-old sex worker who had been found naked in a field east of Denver. In and around the same time frame, he was also charged with the murder of Diane Mancera, a 25-year-old sex worker whose body had been dumped a year before along I-25. Luckily, this time, Vincent wouldn't be given a light sentence with parole in a few short years, and he would be given life for both murder cases in 1990.
Good.
Now, his wild lifestyle of drugs and sex with sex workers, likely unprotected, led him to contract hepatitis C. He was suffering from chronic liver issues from the virus, and by 1996, he would begin to have his body give out, and he was moved to a hospital periodically.
Hmm.
The police would get back on his case about the death of Zabra Mason, a 19-year-old honor student who had been killed where he banked. He would never admit to her murder, and he passed away on October 31st, 1996, at the University Hospital, Denver. He was only 42 years old at the time of his death.
What, like, yay, but also should have rotted in prison, but also what a fucking asshole for not admitting to what he
Yeah.
did before he died.
Agreed, right?
You're already serving life. What does it matter other than your
Yeah,
fucking ego?
exactly. So Vincent is dead. He has killed 3 women and attempted to murder before that. Did you think that's where this case ends?
Oh God.
Well, you'd be terribly wrong. You
Oh,
see,
no.
DNA would finally hit on more women in 2012. You see, they now had a full DNA profile, of Tammy Sue Woodrum from back in the early 1980s, and also a much better understanding of DNA. This DNA testing would lead to positive matches to the murders of Emma Jennifer, 25, Joyce Ramey, 23, and Peggy Cuff, 20, who were all strangled in 1979. So, but his death also left many cases wide open. He is suspected to have murdered more than 20 women in and around Denver area, but unfortunately, we will likely never know if he truly murdered any others than these 6 women. But at least he died poorly, just too early. Sadly, with many of his victims being sex workers, there is not a lot of information about them. Here is the little bit of info I could find. So Tammy Sue Woodrum, born June 7th, 1964, died on August 14th, 1981. The quote on her headstone is, "She was beyond description, her passing beyond sorrow." From Juanita Lovato, I am pretty sure I found the correct woman here. She was born on June 23rd, 1968, and passed away on April 28th, 1988. Her gravestone was quoted as saying, "Beyond this realm of smiles and tears." Sadly, I found no information about Diane Montoya Mancera. Emma Jennifer was born in 1953 and died in 1979, according to her headstone. Joyce Ramey was born in 1955 and passed away on July 4th, 1979. And Peggy Cuff was also sadly one I couldn't find a single thing about. As a society, we need to care more about sex workers. They are people and they deserve to live and they deserve to be remembered just like any other victim. Let's do better. And that's Vincent Groves, the piece of shit.
Vincent Groves needs to. Oh, wait, he did.
He did. He died miserably, at least.
He done did. Yeah, that's not an easy way to go, per se.
No.
Well, I guess when Denver does it, they really do it.
Yes, they do. Ooh. Luckily, Denver is a really cool place, and these scumbags are not indication of what the city is like, from what we understand, and we'll find out.
I can't wait.
Yes. So thanks for tuning into Brew Crime. You can find us on all social media platforms at Brew Crime. We have a Facebook group at Brew Crime the Group. If you'd like to support the show, head to patreon.com/brewcrime now. The money goes towards upgrading equipment and making the show that much better. You get one bonus episode a month, as well as early ad-free access to our episodes. Shout out to our Patreon supporters, True Crime Nana, 3 Beers In Podcast, and the faves of our lives. Bye.
Be good, Denver, not bad, Denver. Or John Denver.
Yes. Or any other Denvers.
Take me home, country roads.
All cases in Brew Crime are written by Mike and JT or a writer we credit on the episode, and sources are put into our show notes for each episode. We always want to give credit to the people that research the cases we talk about. Check out our store at tpublic.com/stores/brew-crime-podcast, where you can purchase gear like t-shirts, phone cases, stickers, pillows, and all kinds of other cool stuff. Brew Crime's intro was created by Mike using Creative Commons Attribution licensed audio from purple-planet.com, soundbible.com, and freesoundeffects.com. Logo designed by Ben Greenberg. Thanks for listening to this episode of Brew Crime Podcast. Welcome to Brew Crime, the podcast where we talk brews, conspiracies, crime. Fuck, I messed that up.
What episode is this?
Take 2. Oh, get here.
Yeah, I sleep in them, JT. I sleep in them.
See. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, really burpy.
You'll make it. You're gonna make it.
So sadly, with many of his victims being sex. Oh, what was that? Go ahead.
No. That was it was a grumble of disgust.